Hi everyone and welcome back. Okay, so I was out having a walk the other day in my local area, a place I visit quite a lot and I go walking there. And I've always looked at this scene, always wanted to paint it but never really bothered. But I looked at it this time and I thought I like that subtle variation there with the trees. The trees are just starting to turn from their summer greenery into those sort of browner yellower shades for autumn, and they were just on the turn, and I thought it gave a nice bit of contrast there along that tree line. Even though it's not a great composition, I thought I'd give it a go. So I decided to do this one as a pencil and wash watercolour. That way I thought I could get all of those nice tree textures in there, all of the detail and the tones already in there first, and then several glazes of watercolour should do the job nicely. Now this is actually a full lesson over on my Patreon channel if you're interested. I think there's 5 videos to accompany this one, so you see the whole process from start to finish. Now my main focus with this painting was the tree foliage and the textures and the detail that are in there. One of my favourite artists, who's a Victorian artist called Helen Allingham, she used to get amazing tree textures in her work. A lot of people these days just paint kind of loose trees, or not highly detailed. I mean, they look great, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking it or anything. I love loose watercolours, but one of the things that have always fascinated me is the way that some of these Victorian artists actually managed to get that vast amount of detail and texture in their foliage, particularly just with watercolours. Now I know a lot of the Victorian artists used to use a lot of white paint mixed in with their watercolours, so basically they were almost painting with gouache, if you like. Very similar method, but I'm just going to try and get a very highly textured foliage look purely with the pencil and layers of watercolour. Now if you like the look of this technique and you like the style of this painting, or you just like drawing and painting, there's lots of other videos over on my Patreon channel for you to look at. There's a nice thumbnail system there now, so you can scroll through and look at each individual project and choose the one you like and follow along with it. And I think you can see there by all of the projects scrolling through there on the screen that there's quite a lot to choose from. And there's a lot more besides. There's lots of other categories as well, like drawing tips, watercolour tips. There's all sorts there. So there's a lot to choose from, and it only costs £3.50 a month to join, and you get access to all of this that you're seeing on your screen now and more. Okay, so back to the painting then. Now the composition itself, I have to admit, isn't the best. I've looked at this scene many times on my walks, always fancied painting it. I've always liked that little footbridge there, always liked that row of trees and the little houses just off into the distance. But I used to look at it and think it's not really a solid composition. Nothing kind of falls on the 1/3 area really nicely. I've kind of looked at this scene from many different angles, and I thought, if I don't just paint this, I never will. So I thought, regardless of the composition, I'm not too worried about that. I'm just going to really concentrate on the tree textures, trying to get them to look very textured, not too detailed, but very textured, trying to get more of that sort of Helen Allingham Victorian style tree look, if there is such a thing. I was just trying to get that, just to see how far I could go. I probably, in all honesty, overworked it a little bit. I mean, compared to the foreground washes and things like that, the trees really do look very textured. But that's really all this was, just mainly a study of trees, just to try and capture those subtle autumn colours as we're transitioning now over from summer into autumn, and just basically see what I could do with this scene. I wasn't completely happy with the end result, but I'd learnt a lot about tree textures, how far you can take it without everything going muddy and looking overworked, which I think I'm probably bordering on, or may have crossed that line, I don't know. I'll let you decide. Okay, so thanks very much for viewing. Take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.